Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Season 2, Episode 19, Putting Your Hoof Down, the episode in which Fluttershy gets assertiveness training from Iron Will, who is totally not a composite of, like, Hulk Hogan and a few other things. And in the process turns into well, let's just say there's another word that I've heard used to describe her. And then she learns her lesson in the end. I don't like this episode. Let me just get that up front. Just put that up front there. Here we go. Just leave it up there. What's funny is this was done by Meriwether Williams. I've been keeping track of writers as we go. Meriwether Williams wrote Hearthwarming Eve and The Mysterious Ne'er-Do-Well, which are two episodes I rather enjoy. So I was a little weirded out by not liking this one. I want to point out something first. Yes, I know I'm still in this outfit. I've been thinking about it for it. I'm just going to use my usual stream outfit for these. Not just because it saves me from changing in between streams, but more to the point, that purple shirt actually kind of hurts my neck. I know that sounds so strange, and I wasn't even sure it was the shirt at first, but after several tests, I have pretty definitively confirmed that the purple shirt hurts my neck. So, no more purple shirt for the Streaminations. I got enough neck pain as it is. And high RAS score. I need to clarify something. I don't dislike this episode. It's not an episode that I'm like, ugh, at. But at the same time, I do think it's not a good episode. You know, I would put it below the average line. Because it's stupid. Now, I had a comment on one of last week's MLP videos, and it was an interesting comment, and I should probably have had it ready to go here, rather than just referencing it without actually having it on the screen. But it was basically the comment that every now and again for a show that is being aimed at children in order to sell toys, I should expect it to be stupid. That's the summary. I'm not making fun of the comment. It was a valid comment. It's just, I remember reading that comment and thinking, well, I mean, you know, that's a valid point. You know, I suppose that's a thing that needs to be taken into account when it comes to these shows. Of course, now I can't find the comment. I've had a lot of comments this week. Hang on. Just rolling through here. Yeah, the show does tend to basically mandate a higher suspension of disbelief than I would for a lot of other shows. And keep in mind, I like Star Trek, which is a show that demands a huge amount of suspension of disbelief in order to really get into it. Screw it, I can't find it. Whatever, you get the idea. So, it's a valid point, really. But I don't want to say I disagree. I just say that it's not going to change my opinion at all. I think it's probably the best way to put that. It's a valid point, but all it is an explanation for why it's worse. It doesn't make the worse better, you know? I guess my point is, you could say my expectations should be lower, to which I say no. Because all I'm expecting is a reasonably well done, smart TV show. That's it. Like I said last week, I will treat this show the exact same way I will Star Trek or any other show that I analyze. So, if a show does stupid, cartoony kid stuff, that irritates me. Not because of the fact that... I mean, because it's stupid! There's a possibility to do smart kid stuff. This very show has done that before now. I know not everyone's going to knock it out of the park. Not every episode's going to be a winner. But that, again, doesn't mean I'm not going to point out the negativity whenever it shows up. Yeah, like Star Wars Rebels. An otherwise excellent show that has moments of stupid kid stuff. And I keep emphasizing the stupid part, because that's the important part. Again, you can have smart kid stuff, but then you can have stupid kid stuff. And stupid kid stuff is stupid. Anyways, I'm just getting off topic, because really, that's my thoughts on this episode in a nutshell. But as usual, I do have my notes, so let's go down a little bit in more specifics. So first of all... Angel! Some of you may remember back in Season 1 I made the comment that Angel pissed me off because he's a brat, or she, I don't know, whatever. Angel's a brat. Then Angel got better, and I pointed that out too. Angel suddenly started being actually helpful and a good pet. Then this episode comes along and Angel is right back to being a colossal brat. I mean, kids are kids, right? Pets are pets, but that doesn't make Angel piss me off any less. Which brings me to a theory. I wanted to bring this up now. I've heard the theory before that this episode basically occurs before episode 1. Now, the theory there boils down to the fact, so Twilight isn't in the episode at all, and everyone in Ponyville's a jerk, and obviously Fluttershy is so shy, she's actually more ridiculously shy than she was back in season 1. So all of that lines up and would make sense, and of course we know that the shows are not really linear in terms of timeline, even though that irritates the crap out of me. The problem is at the end of the episode she narrates a letter to Celestia, which can only happen after season 2 has begun. So no, this is just counter continuity. So we're just going to go ahead and add the counter continuity counter because let's go ahead and add, let's say twice. We'll add 2 notes to the counter continuity counter. Once for Fluttershy and once for Angel. Sound good? Good. So Angel pisses me off. But the Angel's not the only one, because apparently Ponyville is filled completely with assholes. I get that television shows in general, and 22-minute shows in specific, tend to try and emphasize exaggerations to make a point quicker. But holy crap! Like, okay, we've got the oh, I didn't see this, sorry. And then oh, what? I'm too old to actually do anything scareful. And then we've got the 2 kids who are totally like, excuse me, what's wrong with you? And it actually kind of made me think that part of the reason that it pisses me off, other than the fact that everyone there is just a dick, is the fact that it uses harsh stereotypes each and every single time to try and emphasize the assholery. So it's not even clever. And then, oh, they even use, so the geek, right? The total neuter nerds, because we all know that nerds have bad facial, acne, and they don't have muscles, and they're very stupid and shy around girls, of course, because that's how all nerds are, right? I mean, Lord knows that's how I was. This is a lie. I was not like that at all. I knew one kid who was like that. Obviously, there are people like that. But I knew one kid like that back in school. I was friends with him, too. The whole market sequence pisses me off. The whole thing. Oh, he was fine. He was just, he didn't know how to interact around other people. And I'm good I'm good at interacting around other people. There we go. Oh, yeah, there's also the guy selling the cherry. You gotta have the New Yorker there, right? I can't do New Yorker, but, the Bronx accent. So then Rarity and Pinkie Pie help. But like I have it in my notes, it's not just the customers that are dicks, it's the sellers, which leads me to him. The guy who upcharges for the 1 cherry, because I'll get back to that, actually. Let me get back to that. The lady who's decided to sell her tomatoes for more money, for no reason. Just because, screw you, just because she wants more money. I mean, you could say that's how a free market works, but usually there's some kind of mentality behind it other than I'm a dick. Then Pinkie Pie, in order to get the tomatoes from her, literally pulls the Looney Tunes shtick. In fact, it's a Bugs Bunny shtick. You know the one. 1 bit, 2 bits, 1 bit, 2 bits, 2 bits, 1 bit, 2 bit, 1 bit. It's an old joke. Yeah, the duck season. I mean, or rabbit season. It's just, and yeah, they pull that twice in this episode. It could be a roaming market. That could explain why these people are jackasses. But let me get back to the guy with the cherry. Because this pisses me off more than it probably should. And I want to explain why, if that's okay. Was anyone else bothered by the guy with the cherry, other than Dream Whisper, who obviously already... Sorry, the chat's over there today. Forgetting which screen I'm on. Chat's over there. Anyone else bothered by the Chira guy? I wanted to slug him. See, here's the thing. In my real life experience, I've noticed that people in general are decent, for the most part. Obviously, there are exceptions, and there are some people who are just no good, but for the most part, people are cool. If I were to go to the grocery store later today, which I'm going to, and they had one cherry left, and I was like, oh, thank goodness, I really need that cherry for something. And the person was, like, I guarantee you, 99 times out of 100, whoever is behind the counter would not decide to suddenly upcharge me. Now, I know it doesn't work that way in grocery stores, but I'm saying in real life, the odds of them deciding to suddenly upcharge me are actually pretty low. To put this as bluntly as I possibly can, I expect better from My Little Pony. My Little Pony is supposed to be better. That's one of the things that appeals about it to me the most, to be completely blunt. It's the Pokemon thing. It's real life, but better. People are nicer, kinder, more tolerant, more understanding. Right? I mean, even in real life, if you decide to, for example, scalp medical supplies, that's actually something that's a crime. And if you decide to do that kind of gouging on Amazon through the market, you can report them for that. This is real. You can look this up. Because some people have been trying to gouge certain items by buying up stock and then upselling them. And you can report them to Amazon. And they will deal with them as they should. I expect better from My Little Pony than some jackass who's going to upsell. There you go. There's a link to one of those examples. There is literally better than that. In real life, I expect better than that from My Little Pony. And I know that I'm probably overselling this, but I have to stress that this really pisses me off. Because it's basically evil. I know what you're thinking, oh, lore. But no, it is literally an evil act. Really put it into perspective. Oh, thank goodness you have this thing. I need it so badly for this thing. Oh, in that case, I'm going to double the price for it. That is actually an evil act. Yeah, petty, greedy evil. You remember Aegir from KOTOR? You remember him? That's what this is. Yeah, it's also very dumb business. He could have literally made more money if he had decided to go ahead and sell to her when she was willing to upsell. Instead, he sells it to the random person. So I'm sorry for spending so much time on this, but I want to help explain why this episode is not an episode that I enjoy. So, let's move on. Let's move on. We get on from the market scene. Then, yeah, I've done full analyses of actual social dynamics that are applicable in real life from this frickin' show. I've already added it, Baron. I know you can't tell, but I've already added the counter. Yeah, no kidding, Brigman. I suppose I'm a little bit more pissed about this than I would be otherwise, but I've always been against that kind of scalping. Like forever. I've said it before, scalping is trying to rip enjoyment out of the world in exchange for money. Well, you could say that, Kevin, and you'd be incredibly wrong, because this is not the first time this episode has pissed me off at this level. Again, coronavirus, no, doesn't matter. Let's say I want to go to a concert. Let's say I want to go to BlizzCon. This is not a new problem. Moving on. So, I'll have to look at that in a minute. I've lost my place. Okay, so then Angel is more of a dick. Because we got to hammer that point in that Angel's just a brat this episode. Whatever. In fact, you notice, I'm sure I'm not the only one who knows. Probably the one thing that's realistic about Angel being a brat here is Angel didn't even notice there's anything wrong with the big fancy, dessert salad until Fluttershy pointed it out. I love my niece to death. She's the best human being on the entire planet. However, she has a really bad habit of being not actually finicky about food. Like, say, if we were... Oh, I've been more angry than this, Kevin, trust me. Even on camera. If I were to say, here, try this, and she's like, have I tried this before? If I tell her truthfully no, then she'll be like, well, I don't like it. Or sometimes she only will try things if they're, like, Chicken McNuggets style, or maybe there's something that, has to do with... Like, I tried that and I didn't like that and blah, blah, blah. That kind of a thing. Yeah, Bragwin knows the truth. When I get actually angry, I just go quiet. If I ever go dead silent, I am furious. This right here, this is more punching territory. Quick aside. This is only $5, so I don't feel bad about it. But I thought, yeah, sure, why not? Go ahead and buy this thing. It's a stretch punching ball, right? Thing is, you're supposed to stick it to your desk, right? Yep, and that was the sound of it immediately going off the desk. And that was not me punching hard, by the way. It was me knocking over my trash can, though. Completely worthless. I've been debating... Well, you're wrong, Kevin. I've been debating going ahead and buying an actual punching bag. The problem is that I can't, I can't, like, just put it right here next to my desk so I can be like, ah! Because then, well, okay, you don't see the layout of my room, obviously. But then in order to get out, I would have to, like, kind of do this in order to get in between the punching bag and the desk in order to get out, and that's just not happening. I could put it here, but I like to punch with my right arm. So I'd have to, like, do this full thing in order to punch it. And also, my light's right there, so that wouldn't work out. I could put it over in the living room, in my exercise area, but then it'd be like, and then I'd take my headphones off, mute the mic, walk over, BAM! Walk back, okay. So Angel deserved to be punched, right? No, I do get it. I have seen kids do that. I really have. So Fluttershy decides to take lessons. Okay, yep, I'm with it. I have to admit, the episode did make me laugh once. Because Iron Will holds his seminar in the middle of a hedge maze. That was smart. I bet most people, I guarantee kids who watch this didn't catch this, but I bet most people didn't even catch that. He's a Minotaur, So, Iron Will's doing his thing. This has been a recurring trend for several episodes now. But as I was listening to Iron Will talking, I'm like, okay, he does sound familiar. I mean, he's doing this thing, but you can kind of tell the same timbre. So I started looking him up. He has done a huge amount of voice work. So I've probably heard him all over the place. But the place I'm remembering him the most from, is Final Fantasy 15. He played Ravus. He also voiced a bunch of roles in Lego Star Wars, so he's Palpatine in Lego Star Wars, for example. Anyways. So yeah, that was, aha, it's one of those things. So then, then we have to keep hammering in just how much of rude jerks everyone is. Go back and watch the very first VOD, Kevin. I talk about why I like this show in a nutshell. Yeah, I can see that. Bonesaw is ready! Yeah, no. Anyway, so, meanwhile, the rest of the Ponyville continues to be dicks. We've got the gardener, who's incompetent and rude about it. We've got 2 people with full carts blocking the way to a bridge for no reason. Although I've seen that one in real life, too, so whatever, but what the crap. Then we've got people actively cutting in line for cupcakes and being rude about it. There's also, and this is skipping ahead a little bit, but there's also the guy who, she calls for a taxi. Taxi shows up, other guy takes the taxi, which, again, is a cliche, but it has also happened in real life. I mean, the taxi driver doesn't care, right? Why would they? I'm just pointing it out, though, because they just keep hitting that hammering that point in. But as I've complained about many times in many shows, not just this one, they tend to do this truncated version of switching from one extreme to the other, because it's a 22-minute show, right? So what happens is then Pinkie Pie has a laugh, for no reason, really, and she's like, ah, screw you, splash. Then she starts interacting with people who have done nothing wrong whatsoever, or indeed have done nothing whatsoever. So the mailman, who is incompetent but is actually polite about it and apologizes for his mistake. Then there's the tourist, who's just asking for directions. Then there's Pinkie Pie, who does nothing whatsoever. She just shows up and acts confused. And then, Rarity, who just defends Pinkie Pie. And then Pinkie Pie, who defends Rarity. That's it. That's the progression. And at each one of those steps, Fluttershy gets more and more witchy, I think is the word I want to use there. This is the problem, because all of the scenarios previously were designed for her to be, upset, and all the scenarios after were designed for her to show that she's gone too far. Now, also, she says the line, no pony gives a flying feather about that. I'm going to remember that one. And of course, she flip-flops back to being normal with the flick of a switch. And then her house looks abandoned after like one day, but let's not get into that. Now, I've been doing nothing but ragging on this episode, pretty much the whole thing. Let me go ahead and try to defend the episode a little bit too. If I was to be fair to this episode, I would say that the problem is actually not assertiveness or, introversion or whatever. It's frustration. How many of you have ever dealt with something that's actually kind of a minor issue, but, to use a gaming term, it added 2 to your frustration meter? And then you encounter something else and it adds another 2. Then you encounter something else and it adds like 5. And all of these things are actually relatively small things, right? They're little things. They don't matter. You know they don't matter. But that bar is just filling in the background. And so it just gets a little bit more frustrating and more frustrating. And so something that's a relatively minor issue just drives you batty. And then anybody who's been an adult or even a kid can tell you that at some point or another, well, I mean, that did piss me off, Kevin, because what you're doing is belittling my opinion. But no, actually, that didn't frustrate me at all. I'm actually doing pretty well today, thanks. But I do know exactly what this feels like. I know exactly what this feels like. It's something I've struggled with since I was very, very young. And trying to master it and not act on it. That's the big one. Not act on it is something that I have worked on learning as a skill for most of my life. I could sit down and actually come up with every single time I have finally lost my temper, and I could start naming them. I'm actually very proud of this because this has taken most of my life to get to this point. I can name each of those points in which I've actually lost my temper, lost the battle of my own temper, like on 2 hands, basically, if I go back. Because there was one time on stream that happened, and then there was that time, and then that time, and then that time, And that's going back about 10 years at this point. And I think there's a fifth, so that's 5 times in 10 years, which is more, excuse me, than I'd like, but, I'm getting better about it. The biggest tips that I have discovered for this are twofold. One is venting, and two is pausing. If someone does something that pisses you off, right, or something that is the final tip of the scale or whatever, the final bit of straw on the back, you just want to be like, right? Well, in my honest experience, and this is just me, but if I force myself, because I have the mind to be like, so I have the ability to force myself to pause, and if I just let a few seconds pass in between the moment and my reaction, then that immediate reaction, the emotional reaction, dims down, kind of fades away, and so I am capable of dealing with it better. The second thing is, of course, proper venting. Now, everyone vents differently. Some people play video games, some people have sex, some people punch things, some people eat food that's bad for them, some people go exercise. There's all sorts of things people do to vent. So identifying something that is healthy for you to vent on is what I would recommend there. I have plenty of things that I vent on personally. Exercise is actually one of my big ones. And punching things. I've noticed, if you ever hear me do, I'm not going to do it, but if I ever do this on my desk, it sounds nice and loud. So I've heard some people be like, oh my God, did he break something? No, it's the nature of this desk. It just kind of jangles in his thing. So I do that. It's a nice big loud sound. Venting over, moving on. Where was I? I was talking about, right. So again, getting back to the episode, in the interest of fairness, I don't think the episode deserves this, but it would be easy to restructure the episode that this is not about assertiveness at all. This is about Fluttershy constantly putting up with that frustration meter building up. And so what finally actually pushes her over the line is, the events of the episode, and finally she's like, no, I'm just not putting up with this anymore, and she just rants and rails and rages. Which leads me to my second point. She says, he's not, he's a minotaur. And she looks down at the thing. She says, no, I'm the monster. That, in my experience, is also very realistic. Most people I've seen, not all, but most people I've seen, when they get angry enough to do something, the act of doing it kind of snaps them out of it a little bit. Now, that isn't always true. Some people just stay angry. Some people get mean or hurt or whatever. But not hurt, punchy. Some people get punchy or whatever. But I have seen a lot of people who pretty much immediately just, it's a shock. It's a shock to the system, and it shocks them out of it, so they cool down, So it actually was, so you can see how if we restructured the episode, not even that much, this would all line up and make perfect sense. She gets frustrated, she gets more frustrated, she gets more frustrated, and then she blows her stack and starts actually ranting, and then she realizes what she's done, and that shocks her, and then she tries to cool off. And of course, she's mortified by what she did. So, you can see how the episode could be constructed that way. It's not, so it doesn't get credit for that. Now, I agree with Savicon there. One of the many reasons the people in this episode piss me off so damn much is because nobody gives a damn. Except Rarity and Pinky. Like, they're rude to her, and then they just move on. Like, let's go back to Cherry Guy. Cherry Guy sells it for 2 bits. Dumb decision on all parts. And then he just says, sorry, maybe you should be less of a doormat. Again, I can't do the accent, but you get the point. Like, at no point does he in any way acknowledge that he has caused her any kind of grief. You know what irritates me? I'll go ahead and admit this. When I'm trying to explain something and the other person just isn't even trying to listen. Not that they're not understanding. That makes sense. That I'm with. It's when they're not even trying to listen, not even trying to take in what I'm explaining. It's like that pisses me off. There's very few things that piss me off more than that. Being accused of something I haven't done. That's another one that just is a huge, huge hot button for me. I have to work on that one. Like if someone says, you suck at Final Fantasy VI, that pisses me off. It shouldn't, but it does. That's true, Aethel. Like, I was thinking, I like food. I'm a horrible tank. Yeah, there you go. That pisses me off. I have been accused of being a horrible tank before. And that pissed me off. Because it's not true. Like, it's even little stuff. And I'm trying to think of an example without giving away something personal. Like, like an incident. But, okay, I got one. I got a stupid one. One time, this is a real story. One time, the heater had come on. And I smelled it. It smelled like warm wet. You know when like the heater comes on for the first time in the year, and there's that the warm metal smell that comes over it. You know what I'm talking about? And I commented on that, and then someone else said, "No, there's no way you could have smelled that." I haven't turned on the heater yet. It hasn't turned on yet. But I smelled it. No, you're wrong. But I did actually smell that. No, you didn't. You're wrong. And but that actually pissed me off. I was pretty angry about that. I mean, I let it go because, again, years of practice. It's just, ugh. It's just, so even little things tend to aggravate me on that point. Anyways. You know what's funny? Banjo-Kazooie didn't piss me off that much. Not really. I mean, sure, I certainly got frustrated at the game, but there's, You know what pissed me off about Banjo-Kazooie? You really should just not play games you don't have an interest in. Oh man, that stream was a train wreck. As predicted, I knew you'd get your ass handed to you in the last boss fight, and you blamed the game for your own incompetence. Sniff, sniff, there's no checkpoints. I can't aim, sniff, sniff. Kids used to beat this all the time with no problem. It's supposed to be challenging. Go back to Sims 3, champ. I'm terrible at this game, so it sucks. Great logic there, pal. It's not a gameplay negative. You just suck at a minigame. I could keep going. I'm kidding. That's actually all of them. So, sorry, I didn't actually mean to read all of those. But, yeah. Oh, no, it's always the YouTube comments. In my experience, stream viewers tend to be better than YouTube commenters. Which is logical, if you think about it. Because, stream viewers are people who are actually interested in the content, so they have an investment in being there. So they tend to not be dicks. People on YouTube are like, oh, what's this? Here's a VOD about Banjo-Kazooie. Oh man, this guy sucks. Type, 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 type. There's no investment. And people who have less investment have more of a likelihood to be dicks. I mean, I hate to say that like that, but that is statistically true. So, in fairness, though, YouTube comments is just a trash pile. I've gotten plenty of people who disagree with me on camera, and that's fine. As long as we don't go over the bounds, I don't care if you disagree with me. But let's not get into that argument again. Again. Let's cut off the local recording, because we've gotten way off track here.